and welcome to another episode of The Diplomats, brought to you by diplomacybriefing.com, a weekly threat assessment of the diplomacy community, the latest of which features how Teckles won at France versus Austria. I'm Wardy. I'm joined once again by Mr. Eric Grinnell. Hello, Eric.
Hey, guys. How are you? And girls.
We are going to take a look at spring 1903 in the season 7 finals game today. And in the meantime, Lady Razor has been busy. We've got two new artworks to bring you. Feeling the competition from Max, it seems. But this is the Italian suspect, or Kaiser Soso. With that great lineup, and he does look a little bit guilty there. Quill on the end, after snagging Greece with the help of Turkey there, and the second one to bring you is this, the Ozblaster 4000, which I believe is a reference to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So compliments on that, Lady Razor.
Hey, go back to the other slide for 2 seconds. I got to make a commentary here. Lady Razor, thank you for finally drawing Greg without Hitler eyes.
It's just sad eyes here, or no eyes. This one with Russia, with Tati there firing the Turkish John Anderson at poor Karthik, who looking over his shoulder with anticipation, it seems now.
Predicted that Karthik was going to be the victim of caricature envy, and we saw it last season. that was brutal. That was brutal. Now, I don't know Karthik that well. I don't know if he was upset by it or not. I do know that I would have had to go out and buy a new desk. I'm pretty sure that Karthik is a more temperate man than I am, so I'm sure that didn't happen to him. But that was a very, very shocking season for all of us, and I'm sure it was even more shocking for him. So I'm very interested to look ahead and see how everyone's reacting to that. Meanwhile, we've already seen the spring moves. I got a good write-up for you, Wardy. I prepared an excellent image that perfectly explains the current state of the map. Would you share that, please?
This one.
There it is. That's our game. That is the POA Grand Finale game in its current state. This game is currently in absolute dumpster fire. The past few shows, our guests have talked about diplomacy in this game being very transactional. And some of the people who are watching this video to learn the hobby might not know what they mean by transactional. Within the context of a diplomacy game, transactional is pretty much the exact opposite of alliance play. There are absolutely no Care Bears on this board. No Care Bears at all. And to that, I can only say one thing. I'm very proud of you, gentlemen. Outstanding play. Very competitive play. No Care Bears at all in the Nexus POA Grand Finale game. And that's the way it's
Sullivan though, so we'll see what happens.
Well, I predict there will be no one eligible for the Care Bear Award at the end of this game. And when that happens, I will burn those Care Bears in effigy online.
I mean, this is a very entertaining game. All I need on top of that dumpster fire is a pan full of popcorn kernels. This is a joy to watch and comment on.
You can roast the popcorn over the dumpster fire.
Absolutely.
Oh, that would be some popcorn. Oh, yeah.
Shall we have a look at the real state of the board?
Yes, let's.
So this is spring 1903, and wow, yeah, lots of movement.
So
More
much.
black arrows than red arrows, I think, at a glance here. But
As long as it's not Turkey, yeah.
yeah, this is a lot of movement, particularly in the middle of the board, with Austria sort of rushing back. Germany's cleared its borders, but tell you what, shall we go round?
Before we
country
go
by
around,
country?
let's take an inventory of this. Okay, let's take an inventory of this.
Okay.
Turkey attacked Russia. Russia attacked Turkey. Austria attacked Turkey. Austria attacked Italy. Italy attacked Austria. Germany attacked Russia. Russia attacked England. France attacked England. And England attacked nobody because, well, he attacked the English Channel. So England attacked France. Okay. So
But that didn't work because Edinburgh's tap on North Sea, which we'll talk about in great detail later.
Which brings us to the other half of the inventory. Who actually helped each other? Very little help here at all. France helped Germany. Germany helped France. And
Russia tried to help Austria.
Russia tried to help Austria. But the only thing we see here that really matters is there's only two powers on this board currently effectively working with each other. They're Germany and France. Okay. Meanwhile, Italy moved away from France. Austria moved away from Germany. Russia moved away from Germany. England didn't try and take back North Sea. France and Germany are looking really, really good. But I predict that's not going to last all that long. Period of time that's measured somewhere between one to 2 seasons to 2 to 2.5 game years. Germany and France aren't going to be able to continue to cooperate because with the rest of the board playing like they're playing, there are no rivals to each other's supremacy other than one another. So the two powers on the board now that are effectively cooperating with each other, that relationship has a shelf life.
Yeah, so, at some point they've got to either be racing or fighting. Either way, they're in direct competition with one another.
Ed can't agree to race Greg. A race on this map favors France tremendously. So Ed is going to have to change up the game if he wants to stay competitive against Greg. If he wants to outrace Greg, he's going to that may explain the move to Tyrolia. I don't think that's the case. I don't think Ed's going to try and outrace Greg. And if Ed does try to outrace Greg, he'll lose. All right. So let's talk about the countries. Let's talk about Italy first.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. A change of direction here from Italy. Yeah. Not going after Turkey. Moves Ionian into the Adriatic, which can only be anti-Austria.
Only anti-Austrian. And it's not really a change in pace. Last year, Italy took Greece with support from Turkey.
Yeah.
And then followed into Ionian Sea. With his build, he built another fleet. I'm not sure that the build there shouldn't have been Army Venice, but I think that Krill is playing smart here. I think he's building with a look towards the future. He knows he needs that third fleet, or he will end up being chum for Turkey. So it was a smart build. And the moves here are a firm commitment against.
Well, I suppose you don't need that extra army if a German army is coming to help you. If that's what this is.
I predict that German army from Munich that came down to Tyrolia is in fact coming to help Italy. I think that Ed helping Italy grow and stay strong is a very, very sneaky, non-confrontational way to check Greg's advances. If there is a strong Italy behind him, France will not be able to move that quickly.
Yeah.
But Ed is accomplishing that without doing anything at all that's outwardly hostile to France.
And this is what these players are both very good at themselves. So we'll see who wins that game. But maybe this was prearranged then. If Ed had already agreed to work with Krill before that build was in, maybe that was why we go, well, you don't need an army. I can provide an army. Stick it down another fleet.
Yeah, well, I'll be very interested in talking. I'll be very interested in talking to these guys at the end of this game. This is a season, spring 1903, where me looking at the board and saying, oh, the board doesn't lie. Here's the tactics, and this and this and this means this. This board is not about the tactics. This board is entirely about the diplomacy. And I would very, very much be curious to know how much time between deadlines these players are spending on their diplomacy in this game. Because I suspect it's been very, very time consuming.
Imagine.
Because they're all playing very well. And they are keeping me guessing, that's for sure. So, but Italy forced an army into Venice. I think it's interesting that he forced Piedmont into Venice and not Apulia into Venice. You'll see why I think he did it that way in my predictions for the fall moves. Because, you know, if he'd supported Apulia up into Venice, then Venice could have been supporting Piedmont into Tyrolia, which is another indicator that Ed's move to Tyrolia was A, anticipated by Italy, and B, at least by Italy's expectations, is meant to assist Italy. Because if Germany is going to be in Tyrolia, Italy doesn't need to be. It also allows Italy to stay in Piedmont, which has Ed's fingerprints on it. So there's that. Now, Italy took a chance here. He could have lost Greece.
Yeah.
He could have lost.
Ionian didn't support hold it.
We're going to move on to Turkey now, okay?
Okay.
Turkey continues to attack Romania with 2, even though he has no chance that's going to be successful. I don't know what else he thinks Sev is going to do. I guess one thing it might do is keep Sev honest from sliding down into Armenia. But there was no chance of Bulgaria making it into Romania. None. I don't think there was any chance at all. And if this IT was really, really solid, Aegean should have been supporting Greece. Instead, Aegean is supporting Khan into a follow-up to Bull. That's never going to happen. Never going to happen. So if there's really an IT here, Aegean should have been supporting Greece.
I suppose they must have been thinking if they lose Greece, they can take it back again in the 4. Although actually, in this scenario, Greece gets blown up here, so they're actually a unit short. So,
well, they'd still have 3 on 2. They'd still have 3 on 2, but Russia might have something to say about it.
Yeah.
So I think this is simply a matter of Italy's problems are Italy's problems, and Turkey doesn't care that much. But if the FG ends up being as solid as it looks to be getting, it's looking more and more like the IT is the only thing out there that could possibly slow that FG down. So they're going to have to learn to cooperate.
Now, not an awful lot has been said on stream about the preliminary games. These 7 players all won their semi-final boards, and so none of these met each other in the semi-finals. However, that's not true of the prelims. And when I was having a look, what was interesting is that John and Matt Krill each subbed into a game in which the other was playing, and I think allied in both.
That's an interesting nugget. That's an interesting nugget.
Yeah, and there was a comment I found from John Anderson. I will try and prepare get it in screen for next time, but it was along the lines of, if you're going to sub into a game, sub into a game where you're allied with Krill, 10 out of 10 would do again. So So maybe, you know, there was always this sort of laying of the groundwork for an IT in the background potentially.
Well, we'll see. Right now, I think Turkey could have helped. If Italy is his ally, Turkey could have helped Italy more instead of making some really low percentage moves. And I'll be curious to know why he didn't do that. So Russia, meanwhile, Russia did exactly what I figured he'd do. He moved Moscow up to St. Pete's. I'm sure he's not happy about Germany moving to Baltic and Denmark. I'm sure that's not good.
Could this have been arranged, or at least Denmark? But I wouldn't be happy with Baltic. Why is Baltic coming this?
Russia was going to tell him, "I'll trade you Sweden for Norway," then Berlin definitely needed to be going to Kiel, not to Baltic. Not to Baltic.
Not helpful against anybody apart from Russia.
But you know, now Kiel wasn't a guaranteed make because Kiel might have bounced against Munich. So therefore, Berlin to Baltic might simply be the expedient necessity of I have to cover Denmark in the fall.
Maybe. That's what you'd be selling it as, right?
Yeah. So we'll see what goes down there. But
yeah, so after Russia helping Turkey into into Bulgaria, which was owned by Turkey but occupied by Austria at the time, last turn. Yeah. This turn, trying to help Austria back into Bulgaria.
We can only assume the diplomacy went poorly because they attacked each other.
Yeah.
So, and there's no trust there. And it shouldn't be a surprise that there's no trust there. Turkey's open against Russia in 1901 was very hostile. And it took advantage of Russia's trust and good faith. So I'm not surprised that a short-term alliance to bring the board back into balance and kick Austria out of Bulgaria so that they both don't get eaten alive by an AT or by an AI. I'm not surprised that promise, that alliance didn't last any longer than a promise from Italy to work with Turkey or a promise from Austria to work with Russia. Because you never escape where you come from. All right. We are all tainted by original sin, and Turkey's original sin was more egregious than anybody else's on the board.
So looking at Russia's northern battle again with these German moves, what is Russia's likely reaction to this then?
Are we assuming that Germany's moves were not as agreed?
Yeah, let's assume that certainly Baltic was not agreed upon.
Well, Russia's got some options here. You'll see some of it in my predictions. But if he realizes that Germany isn't playing ball with him, a very easy thing to do is Galicia to Silesia, Warsaw to Prussia.
Send everything back again.
That would be consistent with what we've seen the rest of this game, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's true. That is true.
So it is like that first image. I picked that first image for a reason, man. It's a dumpster fire. It's a dumpster fire. This game is a dumpster fire for every single player on this map, except for Greg and Krill, and maybe a little bit for Ed, but mostly not. Okay.
Great for us there, right?
Well, I'm having a blast. This is the first time in years anyone in the diplomacy hobby's given a damn about my opinion on anything. So I'm having a blast.
Who said that? I jest. Let's talk about who was the man of the moment, now is man of deep doo-doo. Austria racing back into to cover his home centers. doesn't have to worry about Budapest this turn, so it's a free shot, if you like, against Bulgaria. But as it happens, could have taken Greece.
Could have taken Greece. I don't blame him for coming back from Tyrolia and Bohemia to Trieste and Vienna. I don't think he had any choice. I want to point out for people who are watching this broadcast to learn something about the hobby. If Karthik had been a little bit more conservative and hadn't moved against Germany the way he had and had sent Vienna to Budapest or Trieste to Budapest instead of going to Tyrolia and Bohemia, he would have kept Bulgaria and he'd have kept Russia on the hook. And these moves indicate that there may be a chance that the Austria-Russia is back on track, that Austria understands why Russia helped Turkey back into Bulgaria, and they might be able to cooperate again. Russia may be the only person on the board who's shown a willingness to work with Austria, especially after Spring 03 moves have posted. Okay. However, I just want to point out, if Karthik had ordered to Budapest last spring, Spring 02, he'd be in a very, very commanding position on this board, and he'd be getting the A again after next fall. I'm going to predict it right now. Karthik isn't getting the A at the end of 1903.
Is there a chance that Russia and Turkey are actually still working together and are playing Austria here? I mean, they know that this isn't going to work, and it makes it look like Russia is helping Austria to spring something in the fall, while giving Serbia something to do that wasn't helping attack Greece.
It's very possible. It's very possible. I mean, it has all the makings of a fake fight, in as much as Turkey is making hostile moves to Russia that will make everyone go, oh yeah, Turkey's fighting Russia. Meanwhile, Turkey and Russia both know that there is no chance in hell that Russia is going to take Romania right now. And if Turkey thought he was going to take Romania right now, he was clearly mistaken. So is it possible? Yes, it has the makings of a fake fight. But if you take a look at their play history throughout this game, if they're hiding an alliance, they're hiding it too well.
Because if I'm Karthik, I'm not liking the look of Warsaw support Silesia to Galicia.
If I'm Karthik, I like Warsaw support Silesia to Galicia more than I like Silesia to Warsaw Galicia.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and I like it a lot less, and I like Silesia supports Warsaw to Prussia. It's a little disheveled. I think Spencer bought a line of goods from Ed. I think Ed betrayed him. I think the next turn from Russia is going to be a reaction to that betrayal. So, but with nothing in Bohemia, without France having 2 on Munich, Munich is free to go to Silesia to make sure that Russia doesn't throw 2 armies on Berlin next season.
Okay, well, let's talk about Germany in more detail. This is turned around really well in a year, but it's sort of gone down then back up again here. Everyone's moving away from him. He was crowded. Now look at all those arrows moving away.
Everyone's moved away from him. I think the most likely outcome here is still that he loses Edinburgh, unless Jordan just says that convoy to Wales is intolerable. I'm now a German puppet, which is very likely. That's probably what I would do in this scenario. But if Jordan doesn't take on this position right here, then Ed is still very likely to lose Edinburgh.
Picking up Sweden
for France to help Germany not lose Edinburgh, he's got to forgo a shot at London for the time being. I don't think he'll do that. I just don't. So, it's in some ways this is up to Jordan. Okay, Jordan can cut Wales and cut English and not lose London. But if he does that, he cannot retake Edinburgh. He's definitely losing Norway. Norway's already gone. So Jordan now has to. The only decision left for Jordan, I love you. You've been probably kinder to me than anybody in the hobby over the past 5 years. But I'm pretty confident in what I'm about to say, which is the only choice you have now is how you're going to die. It's tough to say. You can prevent France from taking London. But to do that, you have to give up any chance of taking Edinburgh. And not taking Edinburgh probably involves you not taking revenge on Ed for cutting North Sea on you. I think with the orders that you wrote, North Sea supports London to English, London to English, you were betting that Ed was not going to cut North Sea. And now Ed cut North Sea.
What else did he think it was going to do? Right?
It's not a tactical decision because he had no chance to take Liverpool and he had no way to protect Edinburgh. So whatever happened surrounding Edinburgh had to be a diplomatic negotiation between Jordan and Ed. And as we all know, that's a blind spot for me. So
but he could have done it the other way round, of course.
How's that?
He could have done it the other way. He could have supported London. London support North to English, and then. But again, if you think that Edinburgh's ordering to North Sea, then you'd sneak into Edinburgh with the army.
I think Jordan here was trying to get a little bit now and a lot more later. All right. You take a look at that move to Liverpool. What's the point of that? Okay. And if you're trying to keep London and get Edinburgh, these moves make sense. You order Yorkshire to Liverpool. And you do that because you're assuming that Ed is not going to cut North Sea and that you will therefore dislodge English Channel. A dislodged English Channel is going to retreat to either Wales or Irish. And because you have a fleet in London, it's more likely he'd go to Irish. It wouldn't matter that much because either one of those spaces can move to Liverpool. So France is only going to have one unit on Liverpool. So as long as that unit stays in Liverpool, he's not going to lose Liverpool. He's also still in London. He's not going to lose London. But now he's in North Sea and Liverpool. He's got two on Edinburgh. That fleet in Berlin, even if it moved as aggressively towards North Sea as possible, is in no position to cut support or lend support to create a 2-on-2 bounce. So then the only thing Jordan would have left to do is to talk to Greg and convince Greg to not cut Liverpool so that he can kick Ed out of Edinburgh. I think that's what Jordan was trying to accomplish. And that might have been the better move for Ed to make. Ed knew he was getting Sweden this year. Even if he hadn't made it too sweet, if Russia had been smart and did what I said, which is bounce Baltic, he might not be losing Sweden this year. So, but with picking up Sweden and being at 7 and still at the top of the board and no one looking like they're an immediate threat to steal that board top away from him right now, Germany had the option of giving Edinburgh back to England for the time being to turn England into an effective puppet. But he didn't do that. He decided that he wanted to help Greg get builds instead.
So because why? What is the play here? Is it because he felt he would Greg have asked him to tap North Sea and he felt he couldn't say no, or couldn't come up with a good enough reason why he couldn't?
I think that's exactly what happened. I think that's exactly what happened. I think Greg asked him to cut North Sea, and Ed sat there and looked at the map and goes, "What's my excuse for not cutting North Sea?" Well, I guess I have to do it. Because if I don't cut North Sea now, I'm tipping my hand. I think that's what happened. I think that's what happened. So
yeah, if you're Jordan here, you need to be trying to make them nervous of each other.
Yeah, you try and play them off each other. You offer yourself as a buffer between them. You plead for self-interest and use the threat of becoming the other's puppet as your lever. I think that's what he was trying here. I think he was trying to offer the willingness to slow Greg down, to get Greg to lay off him, or to get Ed to lay off him. Ed turned down that offer. So now it'll be interesting to see how Jordan responds to that. And I think the response will be that Greg is going to get London, Jordan's going to get Edinburgh and lose Norway and be it 2. Unless something very, very interesting happens diplomatically between Jordan and Ed right now. Because if Jordan and Ed decide to start cooperating with each other diplomatically, Jordan gives up his dreams of getting Edinburgh back. Greg realizes that Jordan's units are more valuable than Jordan's dots. Jordan and Greg had the ability to shut, I keep calling Ed Greg. Jordan and Ed had the opportunity here to shut down Greg and make it 2 or 3 years before Greg ever looks at another build. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Jordan is going to be justifiably angry with Ed. And the other thing going on is Greg sits there in the background, continuing to talk to both of them. And Greg is an excellent diplomatic player. And I think he's in both their heads and both of their hearts. And he's going to continue to play the puppet master. And he's very good at it.
Let's talk about Greg then, because he's got options as well. I mean, what can he offer Jordan? Well, I mean, you made a case there for him taking London and allowing, and telling Jordan to go take Edinburgh, and in that scenario, keep the fleets, because Greg's only got 2 fleets. If it looks like Italy is going to get big, he probably has better places for those fleets than certainly English Channel. Maybe you want to park something, maybe Spain South Coast or something, but those English fleets in the north could be helpful to France if they come up with an arrangement.
The most important reason is France, that you want England to keep the fleets, not the army, is the army is purely defensive in nature. And if you're France and you're co-opting an English puppet, you see no need whatsoever for England to play defense against the Germany with 1 fleet. The only person that defense can effectively work against is France.
Well, they do have a second fleet, but it's over in Baltic.
There are multiple theaters on this board, and that is a different theater.
True.
I think Baltic is going to move to Denmark, at which point it will be adjacent to the theater. Okay. But I think that if either Germany or France is going to flip the script and accept Jordan as a vassal right now, it's going to be Ed. Ed can make much more effective use of Jordan than Greg can. Jordan's units, if used properly, are more valuable to Ed than his dots, especially when one of those 2 dots is Liverpool. Excuse me. I'm allergic to my own bullshit. Liverpool inevitably goes to France anyway. So really, there's only one more dot there that really solidly Germany can anticipate taking. So to Germany, England's units truly are more valuable than England's dots. I don't think the same is true for Greg. I think the dots are much more valuable to Greg than the units are. Because if Greg is going to keep Jordan as a puppet, then he's not getting those dots as builds. And if Greg is not getting those dots as builds, what's Greg's next build? It's a long time away is what it is.
Tunis, yeah. Neither of them particularly easy to take.
So that's my call. If Jordan is going to do anything but evaporate, it'll be to be a puppet for Ed. But I'm not sure that Ed deserves that right, because Ed just substantially damaged Jordan for no gain whatsoever, to the benefit of nobody whatsoever than Greg, who is his rival on this board.
Decisions to be made in the West in terms of how to play alliances as well as in the East.
This is all diplomatic at this point. All of it's diplomatic.
Yeah,
So,
not that much tactical stuff this turn.
yeah.
And it's all sort of, you know, all in the stuff that we can't see.
The only solidly tactical moves on this entire board are Moscow to St. Petersburg. That's a theater shift. Okay. That's an advancing the line and solidifying your holdings move. Okay. Ionian to Adriatic. That is a totally offensive move, and it commits you to a front. And the Convoy to Wales is also a totally offensive move, commits you to a front. And it looks very bad for England. Those are the only purely tactical moves on this board. So, yeah, everything going on this board right now is diplomatic in nature, which is why I have so little to say.
Shall we move on then to some comments that we've had? Not a lot on this one, mainly about just how little cooperation there's been on the board, which we probably covered, I guess. But of course, yeah, the mention that France and Germany look to be actually tactically helping each other. Yep. So shall we have a look about at what you are suggesting might happen?
I try and come up with a prediction every season. I got to tell you, this time I am whistling in the dark. What happens in the fall is going to be based entirely on diplomacy, and I have no idea what it is. I have no idea what it is.
Yeah. So talk us through what's going on.
Well, let's start with what we talked about most recently. Jordan is going to talk to Greg. This is my prediction. Jordan's going to talk to Greg and say, I can't stop you. Go ahead and take London. Go ahead and take London. I'm going to take Edinburgh. Greg is going to leave Liverpool alone to do that. He's got perfect cover. Ed can't be mad about Greg picking up a dot. Hey, you're at 7, man. I'm only at 5. I'm trying to get to a little bit of parity. Yeah, I couldn't be cutting stuff to help you. I needed to get my build. You're getting a build for Sweden. You could, or are you supposed to go up to 8 and I stay at 5? I got to get my build. So Greg's got good cover here to not help Ed. Okay. So I think Jordan is not going to, not going to let Ed keep Edinburgh. And the way I've got that predicted is Liverpool supports north to Eddie. I've got Eddie going ahead and moving to Clyde, whether it's a move or a retreat. And that'll be very valuable, because if Ed can then swallow his pride about getting kicked out of his precious, because, you know, stealing Eddie in 1902, that was a pretty clever move. I'm sure he's proud of it and would like to keep it, but he's not going to keep it because he has no units in place to support. If Ed can accept that, okay, I took Eddie, I got out of Eddie, I retreated to Clyde, I still have the most advanced unit on the board, I still have a tempo advantage, I'm going to use it. Clyde is now in a position that it could support Liverpool to hold. Liverpool could turn around and support Eddie to Yorkshire. Okay. London is probably going to be the unit that disbands. Yep. He'll retreat at the North Sea and then he'll disband it. Okay. And then Denmark is going to cover North Sea and make sure France stays out. And with a fleet in Clyde supporting Liverpool and Edinburgh sliding down to Yorkshire, Denmark coming over to North Sea, then France has nothing available to him except to move over to Norwegian and come up with his build. France, instead of taking London from Wales, might take it from English and build another fleet. But that's a lot more chancy. That's a lot more chance, because I think Liverpool is more likely to cut Wales than North Sea is to cut English Channel. So that's my prediction there. Marseille is not going to go to Piedmont. He wants to keep Italy happy, content, and focused on one front, not the other. So there is that.
How about the Eastern half?
Don't have much to do. I think you'll just see a hold from them. And I think I've covered England's moves for about the past 15 minutes. Germany's moves. Baltic is going to go to Denmark. He'll go to Norway just to bounce Russia out in case Russia slides down to Skagerrak.
Okay, yep.
I think the smarter move for Russia is to support the move into Finland. I've also got Russia reacting to that stab for Sweden Baltic by moving back to Prussia and Silesia. That's leaving Austria a bit in the lurch, but Russia has bigger fish to fry. Russia has bigger fish to fry. And not only that, he's very secure in his Romania front at this point because Turkey has nothing in place to threaten Sev with. So Sev and Rum is going to hold. Yeah, I didn't put it in this set of predictions because I think the best predictor of present behavior is past behavior, and Turkey's been slamming against Romania all game. If Aegean is not going to support Greece, the other thing Aegean could do is support Bulgaria while Black convoys Khan to Armenia. But I didn't put that in my prediction. But if Turkey does not gain that eastern flank against Russia back, he's never going to make any progress against him. Never. And he's already down 4-7, 4 going on 8. It's only 1903, but 1910 is a very, very short game. And with Italy making more progress against Austria in the short run than Turkey is, Turkey's always a slow grower. Turkey's always a late comer. All right. But you don't want to be too late. So
no, not in a timed game.
Yeah, right. I do think that Germany is in Tyrolia to aid Italy for the reasons I discussed previously. It's a bulwark against France. It's a future ally to envelop France. So I do think Tyrolia is going to cut Vienna, because by cutting Vienna, you give Italy a very high likelihood of taking Trieste. I've got him taking Trieste with the convoy.
That's always good to see.
Serbia could support Trieste, but Serbia also has to look at the fact that Turkey could cut Serbia, so that's not a guaranteed take. So Austria has about 3 coin flips right now, and he's making all those flips with 2-headed coins. He does not control what goes on here. Everything that's going to happen to Austria this turn is controlled by players who units are not red. It's an unpleasant game for Austria. It's a waiting game.
It's a tight spot for Karthik.
He has to sit around for the next 2 days and see how clever he's been with his communication skills and his diplomacy, and hope someone gives him a break. I don't think it's going to happen. And remember what I said when he got into Bulgaria and you said he looked good? And I said, until 1905.
Yeah.
It's 1903, brother. So I think that covers.
The one good thing is that it's Romania has a fleet in it. That looks to be the only good thing for Austria.
Well, it's half of a good thing. Because at this point, if Austria and Russia are truly going to cooperate and be friends, if Russia's not somehow getting a second fleet to attack Turkey with, Austria would be better off if Romania was an army as well.
Well, yeah, but I didn't read the movement into Galicia as good for Austria. But
here's the biggest reason Austria and Galicia are Austria and Russia are probably going to be friends for the time being. Okay, if not Russia, who is Austria's other friend?
I don't really see one.
No, absolutely not. If not Austria, who is Russia's other friend? Nobody. Russia's nearest friend is France, and that's why France and Austria are going to be friendly with each other for at least the time being.
Yeah, because France doesn't want to see Italy explode. Yeah.
But
It's,
Greg's got to look at it. Greg's got to look at Italy and that Italian front within the lens of a game that ends in 1910. Okay, he'll spend 3 years getting into a position where he has any chance in hell of forcing any Italian dots. And then after he gets in that position, it'll take him another year to 2 years, maybe even 3 years to overcome Italy's defense, especially if Turkey assists him. Meanwhile, while France is committing all those units to that front with a limited payoff, with a maximum consumption of units and tempo and effort, what's Germany going to do with the rest of the board? No, I would not be surprised if France and Italy never fight this game. Never fight at all. France is more likely to fight with Turkey over Italian dots than he is to fight with Italy over Italian dots.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. Right. Anything else to sign off on?
Yeah, I wouldn't bet 2 cents on this map. I don't have a clue what's going to happen. You guys are too good for me.
No more yen necklaces.
You got no more. The postage from Japan costs more than the money. I can't afford it anymore. No more yen. No more yen. Next time I make a bet about this board, it'll be something I'm certain is going to happen. Okay. I guess the one bet I would be willing to make is England's going to be dead by 1907. That's the only certainty I've got. That's the only certainty I've got. Yeah, this map, pure speculation. Go read your horoscope. You got more likelihood of that one being right.
On that note, thank you, Eric, for joining us.
Let me just say, you 7 players, you're just too good for me. I can't predict this map. I can't predict this map. You guys
Look what you've done to Eric. Look at what you've done to him. This is not the Eric we know and tolerate.
You guys can't be wearing pink, for God's sake. I'm still wearing my gun, but I'm wearing pink.
Very fetching it is too, sir.
I wore it for you, brother. I haven't said it in a couple shows. Nothing but love, Wardy. Nothing but love.
Right back at you, big fella. And so we will catch up with you very soon. There's a 24-hour extension, but we've got some of the bits and bobs to be getting on with. So we'll see what happens when fall hits. Keep doing what you're doing, guys. This is fun. Cheerio.
Guys, please quit making me look stupid. Cheers.